going to be Hanamura. A lovely picture, some of the art here in the fabled Hanamura arcade.
Hey, I remember when that picture was first out and D.Va wasn't even in the game. We're just like, what's a D.Va? It's like, well...
Well, also, a lot of people thought that on the poster on the left was the D.Va. Remember the one with the goggles?
Yeah.
Or not the goggles, but like the Gurren Lagann glasses there? Kamina glasses?
How little did we know at the time? That was also before Genji was in the game.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The golden era. But now we move forward. It's going to be bye week on the attack here first. And again, playing it somewhat traditional. They're not going to actually stick with the double sniper, but they will let Sugar Free flex his might here on the Widowmaker.
Yeah, that's not unheard of here on Point A offense. And so bye week, they're going to be putting a lot of their eggs in this sugar-free basket here. They have to be careful. Really hold close by the defense. Simplicity having to fall back just a little bit. Dogman low, he will fall.
That was really awkward. They went in at an angle where Sugar Free couldn't support them on the Widowmaker, and they just got focused down and taken down.
Yeah, I was surprised by that push coming out. Why not just go try and pressure them onto the point, try and draw members onto it, where the line of sights definitely do benefit the Widowmaker. Sugar Free already making the swap off now, going onto the Tracer.
And they're going to play more to their strength here, which is that let Sugar Free do whatever the heck he wants. He's going to dive, well, he was diving in now, backs out, waiting for his opportunity. Simplicity guarding the gate pretty well here, more aggressively than we see most teams. It's not the hold-back defense that we saw from Optic a series ago. They're making bye week pay for every little bit of ground they want to get here. And you see, it's DPS and Zombs where as soon as they cross the threshold, what's going to happen? You're going to get the electricity out, but now they turn on the tanks. They go for DPS and Zombs immediately, and they demech Zombs. So bye week, they had a good plan here early on, but they also lose Dogman. It doesn't matter, though. They did enough damage to the tank line in the beginning. It's room for Sugar Free to work with, and bye week should be able to take first off.
Yeah, no tanks whatsoever, and the cleanup is there. Aether taking out Ginger Pop. They did lose Waifu's mech in that fray, so we'll see if he decides to reset off of this. I'm surprised he's not actually going for it. He's just going to go back to spawn to get it back.
Well, that's exactly what he's doing, unless he wanted to do a Risa, which, of course, not really the play here. Though, hey, if you wanted to use it to get high ground, I would be entertained. Bye week, though, coming back over. Blade up, one of their better opportunities if they can force a Transcendence out of Wanja early, then back out. That has to be the play here. If you use the Blade early on, not going to be quite as good. Hypnot has to use Primal Rage super early on. KSF explodes with the Nano Blade, takes down 3, push over.
He just came barreling around the corner with that Blade, wheeled it out, just swinging wildly, picking up 2. Was the Nano Nade, excuse me, the Nano Blade out from Simplicity, and so that's going to allow them to stabilize bye week, though. Still have plenty of time here, 5 minutes and 30 seconds. They're going to have a Blade of their own, but Wonjae will be holding on to that Transcendence to answer in kind.
It's still not that bad for them here. I mean, they basically traded out favorably ult-wise. They lost to Primal Rage, but the Primal Rage was traded for both Nano Boost and Blade, so they have options here. They're going to force their way up. They open with the Transcendence, and now they're waiting. Aether's going to wait for the Blade here. They keep everyone alive on the top. There's the Blade. There's the barrier. Aether gets one, looks for more. Needed to get the second here. He's a little bit out of sorts, but it's not the worst. The problem is they lost Sugar Free, who usually brings it up for them here, and Simplicity is trading out well as DPS made room in the back while that was going on.
Yeah, Dell and Dogman falling. That is definitely the end of a push. Both of your supports gone. You have no longevity on the point now. And taking a long time to reset is bye week. They're actually giving over a lot of ultimate charge. Simplicity, KSF now 75% towards his ultimate. Ginger Pop is gonna actually be in line with the next Blade too. So we're gonna see another Nano Blade possibly coming out from Simplicity for this defense.
And Nano Blade is very good because it's rare to not get at least one kill off of it, and any kill to an opposing offense is crucial in the situation. So Simplicity, they don't quite have it yet though. There is a window for bye week, and the window would be Sugar Free getting an early pickoff. So you see the defensive Tracer of Retzi coming in from the side. He's on the long con, the long flank. Sugar Free on the front, just looking to blow up and tank the pulse bomb. And no, I think it was Eden there. Doesn't get much of anything. Simplicity holding back, and now there's the Nano Boost. Here's the Blade. Oh my goodness, into the back line. And yet, KSF doesn't get as much as he wants. He's going to be outran by Soldier. It's a waste of a Nano Blade in the end. A good split from bye week, and they still have hopes here on this push.
It's difficult to try and chase down a sprinting Soldier 76 there. Now we do have some trades going on, but it looks like Sugar Free is starting to pull it in the favor of bye week here. Wunjae Lee has fallen. They got the D-Mech. Here's the self-destruct out from Waifu, but it's blocked by KSF, swapping off onto that Mei. But as soon as she gets out of that ice block, she will fall to Sugar Free.
And Retzi has to get one pick up here, but no, he gets domed by Dogman. The orb to the face. As bye week continues to solidify, it's Sugar Free on the flanks. Dogman taking down stragglers. Bye week in a very good position, and yet the stall's been good by Simplicity. They don't even have a tick here yet, so it's been good that they hold position, but they gotta fully clear out Simplicity, who's stalling out really well right now.
But Aether did have that tactical visor. A lot of cleanup kills coming in. Now he's the Soldier 76 trying to deal with Retzi in the back. The orb is on him, but that buys enough time. D.Va is back here on the point, but the pulse bomb will instantly force that D-Mech.
And while they're doing this again, they don't even have the first tick. I think they're about to start getting it now. I mean, this has been going for a while, but they lost Dogman in the back. That can be the snowball effect for the defense where you get one and look for more. They still have very little progress here because you have this change-up where you have KSF on the Mei. You have Zombs coming in when someone goes down. This is tactical by Simplicity and eating up so much time, even as bye week, by the numbers, is winning the fight. However, finally, there's a break in the stall. They get 2 ticks, about to be a third, and Simplicity now against the wall as they try and come back in. And it's not super effective for them, although KSF trying to ice one out.
KSF out of that block. He does have the Blizzard, will throw it down. He gives up his life for it. There's plenty of space for them back away, but Zombs, he's picked up 2. That's both tanks gone now, but Aether with a tactical visor finishes off Ginger Pop, and now with that D.Va gone, with the Winston just in the fray, he jumps on top of that Mercy. DPS takes Del out, but no one was on the point.
Winston was still alive! DPS, where were you at? You still could have bought time. Mei was coming back out.
There was a little bit of miscoordination there. He was chasing after the Mercy kill, which he did end up getting, but his Soldier 76 wasn't able to make it onto the point. And so it was just a split-second difference there that allowed bye week to sneak that in.
Well, a split-second difference, and also don't get off the point when you're that close. Like, you could say coordination, delay, and whatnot, but the degree to which you can kind of play fast and loose with the delay, which serves Simplicity really well in the beginning, you don't have that buffer for error when you are that close to it in the end. So it's still a key mistake towards the end, and yet, on the whole, a very nice delay from Simplicity, where you normally don't get that level of delay in a losing fight, where if you were to look at the score sheet there, you know, we had one we could pull up, it'd be, oh, here's bye week with 60-5, and yet still not capping the point.
So now as we swap sides, we didn't get to see much of Sugar Free's Widowmaker. I mean, he barely had it out before he swapped off back onto the Tracer, but it's going to be in the face of KSF. So KSF, you know, he does have a really deep pool, and Widowmaker is a hero that he does like to draw upon. So KSF versus Sugar Free, but that leaves Retzi open on that Tracer, try and deal with the rest of bye week, but take a look at the tank composition coming out for them. They're going to go for that Orisa D.Va, try to go for a lot of damage mitigation. Try, really pocket, I would say, I guess, Sugar Free at this point.
To a degree, it has to be Sugar Free hiding behind the shield. The worst case scenario right now for bye week would be, oh, you have the Widow off to the side, she gets picked off, then Mercy goes to res, and then Mercy gets picked off, or something along those lines. So Sugar Free needs to play around his team to a greater degree here. But then again, if you just land a whole high degree of shots, sometimes you can get away with any positioning. So we'll see what Sugar Free has in store.
Both Widowmakers are also going to have the pocket of their Mercies. So Retzi is the one who has to be most careful, because you can get body shotted and still taken out. KSF spots out, of course, that barrier. It looks like maybe he goes for the swap off.
He's certainly thinking about it, and now he's committed. Gonna be swapping off Widow to Genji. Doesn't even want to play the Widow v Widow battle, as Retzi, watch your step. Taken down immediately by that quick Junkrat trap. But yeah, I think the goal here is that you don't want to play Widow v Widow where one team has a strong shield and the other doesn't. It's just not to your advantage. You'd have to break the shield and get Sugar Free in that interim.
Indeed. So the high ground held by bye week. We'll see if Simplicity can break that with a great dive. The halt has already been used, so this is the call. This is where they go for it.
They go for it in Simplicity. They try to just ignore the Orisa. They change the terms of the battle. Pray they do not alter it any further, as now they're in the right side right now. They're using the corner. They make Hypnot readjust, and yet Bi-Week's doing fine on the readjustment. Now they have the Orisa shield on the point. They've already taken down 2, and Sugar Free readjusts right now. Under pressure by Retzi, but he doesn't even have to snipe him here. He can just go for the machine gun. Meanwhile, Aether cleans up on the point. Simplicity got split up despite the early push onto the point.
And that split up was the most important part, because as soon as Simplicity went onto the point with their gap closing abilities, that's when Bi-Week decided to just jump onto the supports. You saw Waifu make a straight beeline onto 1J and 1J Lee, and 1J Lee was left alone by himself. That allowed Sugar Free to readjust back onto where we see the map right now, into that main opening, and still get shots off onto the members that were on the point.
And the big thing here, KSF got very little done there. Didn't build anything towards the blade. Not going to be able to get here as Lucio steps in the same trap that Retzi was in earlier. Way too much value coming on Junkrat traps here, but the impact is very real. Simplicity can't really go in here. And by the way, you want to talk about getting staggered. Here's a tire. Not gonna be a whole lot to stop it. Aether just needs to find someone in the next 3 seconds, moves on in. Goodbye, Wanja. Stagger is complete.
Yeah, 1J kind of just realized, you know, there's a rip tire, it's coming close to me, I'm probably gonna fall. So he just takes that. Now the reset is coming out. Simplicity, they try to get the rest of their members out. They did lose Zoms along with DPS in that effort. Half their time already bled away now. So 1 minute and 30 seconds left for Simplicity here. It's Retzi. He's the only one with the ultimate. 1J still having a difficult time building up his.
KSF, seen talking to his blade. Is it time to shed blood? No. No, it's not. You have not hit enough people with shurikens yet for your blade to taste blood. So again, Simplicity not gonna be able to open up with the blade here early on. Sugar Free evading to the top, but it's Retzi with Zoms, a successful Tracer Diva dive that opens things up. And this puts more pressure on Sugar Free, where he's gonna heal, he's gonna come back the other way. It's Aether and Sugar Free that need to pull this back. Meanwhile, Retzi just focusing tanks, going around the outskirts. Now that Junkrat's marked down, he goes down with ease. Now, well, the blade was built up, but he's gonna fall, but it doesn't really matter too much. Simplicity's gonna get the point, and now they have momentum going to second.
They have momentum going into second indeed. Dogman was staggered there on that Zenyatta. He'll be able to make it back to the point quickly. Simplicity now moving up. They have DPS on the high ground. They've used the Transcendence. They're pushing forward. Valkyrie was used.
They are committing everything in here from the Simplicity side. The Transcendence is up. They're about to have a barrier in a moment, and it's gonna be Barrier Blade. There's the barrier, KSF. Where is the blade? He's waiting for the Transcendence to be done and over with, and finds Dogman right as it's done. A nice play here from KSF, looking for more. Diva's gonna not go down, takes an extra swing, but it's still fine for Simplicity. They're getting onto the point, but now they have to deal with Sugar Free, who's still on the outskirts, and Retzi does it. Simplicity now in the driver's seat.
They are in the driver's seat. They've already secured 1 tick. Primal Rage used by DPS just to back that Diva up, but she will be able to make it onto the point. As soon as she does, she gets demeched here. Doesn't have a self-destruct for the remake, and the great Pulse Bomb coming out from Retzi with the follow-up damage onto Hypnot. Dogman tries to go for a last-ditch effort with that bash, and we've even got the Mei coming out from Sugar Free. Ice Block has been used, and instantly he gets taken out. And with that, Simplicity will finish it off. 3 minutes and 41 seconds left in their time bank.
Bi-week stall game, not as good as Simplicity. Simplicity was better at losing, which coincidentally makes them better at winning here so far, now with a significant time bank advantage as we head into extra rounds.
So now, Bi-week, they did have a good point A push as soon as Sugar Free had swapped off from that Widowmaker. So I did like seeing what Simplicity did on their offense to finally adjust to it. It took them a few tries. They were just kind of like batting their heads up against the wall there. But ultimately, they realized if we have a dive composition, well, we should probably dive instead of try to apply pressure onto the point. That's what they did. When they saw the Orisa, they dove onto the Orisa along with that Widowmaker.
Well, the other thing that hurt Simplicity as well is that you look where DPS is right now. That's about where he and Zoms were holding on. But the rest of Simplicity was spread out around the backside. So what happened is that Bi-week on their last attack, they came in and they overloaded DPS and Zoms with a 6v2 in the beginning, and Simplicity wasn't able to rotate in and counter dive quick enough to make up the deficit there. So if Simplicity is going to run the same style of defense, they have to have a quicker reaction to Bi-week, coming in quickly and focusing tanks, because Bi-week had an excellent response.
Yeah, Ginger Pop is going to have to land that biotic nade to keep his tanks up. If they decide to hold right there, right outside of the gates, it's going to be very difficult for them to stay alive without it. I mean, as Ana, it's already difficult to try and get the heals across through a Winston barrier or through a defense matrix. Sugar-free poking and prodding in.
They already know where the tanks are hiding right now. I think Byeweek's going to go to the well once more. They've grouped up as 6, and they turn the corner. Again, focusing on the Simplicity tanks. DPS has to back out immediately here, but he's getting healed up. It's not as decisive as it was before. Waifu, poked down, but not out of it just yet. Byeweek now gets re-engaged on the top, but this is a distinctly different fight than what we had before. Simplicity gets a different form of engage, and Byeweek now, again, wounded, but not out of it just yet. Everyone's still alive in this fight, but the tank pressure coming in is intense as Waifu and Hypnot are both low.
Yeah, Gingerpop has been throwing down those nades really well timed. 1J starts it off. Dell has fallen now. Byeweek just staggering around, trying to find a way to regroup, but they can't. KSF is there. He's got the dash resets. Aether and Hypnot are falling, and they're now going for a full reset. And Byeweek, this is going to be their last opportunity to attack point A.
They don't have much time, and that's the problem that they're in right now. They're not going to have a blade for this next fight, but sometimes a bomb on Sugar Free can be deadly enough.
They'll also have possibly the support ultimates. Dogman at 84%, Dell at 85%, but that Transcendence, you have to be careful. Gingerpop has been connecting with his biotic nades.
They got delay for long enough here, is the key, is that don't engage, and oh, Simplicity does give them the time to engage. They dive in before the Transcendence is able to come up. Dogman dies right at the last second, and Simplicity, they take the initiative away from Byeweek. Might as well have rolled a 20 there.
That's some great timing, and now Sugar Free's not even able to make it onto the points at all. He was caught out. Retzi had, of course, the mind on him to make sure that he couldn't get there. And with that, it's going to be a hold on point A. Byeweek now up against it. Simplicity, 3 minutes and 41 seconds just to get a tick onto point A.
That was so good by Simplicity, and I don't know if it was intentional. But if you think about the start of that fight, Byeweek needed about another 5 seconds to build up Transcendence, build up Barrier. Simplicity engaged before they were able to get those ultimates up. If they engaged even 3 seconds later, that fight could have been a very different fight. That is actually crazy, and whoever made the call on Simplicity to go in there, that was very arguably a game-winning call.
You know, we've heard some stories, I want to call them old wives' tales, about some supports who can predict ultimates down to about 3% difference. Maybe 1J Lee is one of them. Maybe Gingerpop is one of them. Because, yeah, that was excellent timing coming out from them. That Nano Blade coming out from KSF and Gingerpop. But ultimately, also, Gingerpop did a great job of just being able to build it up. Because it wasn't a lot of healing. It was also a lot of damage he was getting across with his biotic nades. Byeweek wasn't able to do anything at all. Those biotic nades kept them at bay. That's why so much time was burned off their clock.
Well, when it comes to support ultimate tracking, that just sounds like Adam and Elk stories to me. But now, for Simplicity, all they need, as mentioned, is that one tick coming in here. And no, Zombs, you're not going Symmetra. Just don't even.
I would have gone for it. Cowards. No, I wouldn't. I'm a coward. Now, Simplicity starting it off. It's going to be the regular dive coming out from them. Sugar Free is going to be on the Soldier 76 here. So, he's got the high ground, they've got the Orisa, but they're just going to route that completely by going to the right-hand side. They're going to make a dash for the point as soon as they have that sound, that's amp it up.
Retzi, meanwhile, looking for the early pickoff and certainly just looking to pull people back by getting the point. That means that Waifu has to respect this, move back onto the point, the rest of Simplicity rotating around, and again, it's just getting the pressure onto the tanks, but not pressure enough to really make Waifu sweat. He has the orb on him in this engagement, but they lost Dell. Now they don't have much in the way of support healing at all, and you're gonna see Simplicity be much more aggressive here. It's up to Dogman to keep everyone alive, and if you focus tanks now, Zenyatta can't keep up with that.
And Dell has to swap off onto Lucio just to get back onto the place, but now they have been bifurcated. He's gonna be separated by the rest of the team. Now Gingerpop though answers back. They've gotten Waifu. Hypnot is down. Simplicity have broken the back of this defense here, splitting them up, and now with his final cleanup, Dell, possibly the last member on the point, just dancing around on the bell.
He's dancing, but the dance is done as Simplicity takes the series 3-0 here. But don't forget, we still have one more map to go.
I feel like I've seen more defense in games of pickup basketball than I've seen on point A of Hanamura. It's just very seldom that we've seen teams be repelled, but in the end, Simplicity was able to repel Byeweek, and that pretty much spelled their doom. As you said, just that flashy last-second call to just go in before the Transcendence, iced it for Simplicity, and thus far, you know, individual skill of certain players, you can say it is fairly even. That's the way it feels. But it's the understanding of the mechanical aspect of Overwatch, which is how you stall out points, when you make the calls. Simplicity thus far just showing a whole other gear over bye week.
Yeah, and again, I don't blame bye week to a degree. I mean, changing up your key team strategy is difficult, but certainly, I think there have been upsides to bye week, right? Sugar Free has looked very good the entire series long. There's moments where they do kind of catch Simplicity off guard, but on the whole, Simplicity's quality of gameplay, particularly in positioning and engagements, has been higher.
Yeah, what I was really surprised about was that they didn't go back to that Junkrat on their defense. They opted to not run it at all, which was surprising because that Junkrat bought them a lot of valuable time on their first defense. I mean, you saw Tracer's falling into it, Lucio was falling into it, and on that same approach on the right-hand side, which is where they actually took their first push on their second offense, did Simplicity. So I feel like that might have just been a miscall coming out from the side of bye week because it was a very strong pick for them.
Yeah, and again, I think for bye week, you're still dealing with the overall scenario of they're a newer team. They've replaced 2 players. They don't always know what they want to run. They just know that they don't want to be a slave to quad tank anymore, so we're seeing change-ups.
All right, we've talked about Sugar Free's Tracer play over the course of the series. Let's go ahead and take a look at Retzi, though, who's also been doing work here. And again, when it came to point B on Hanamura, it was really just 2 different stories altogether. Simplicity was able to stagger and basically hold off bye week for, I think it was a full 2 minutes, essentially, somewhere around that mark. Versus when it came to bye week, trying to do the same to Simplicity, the stagger just wasn't there. It felt very much like the sort of match where it's like, hey, we respawned, we've got to get back on the point, and unfortunately much less effective.
Well, the scary thing about the stall that came out from Simplicity is that they actually could have pulled that one back. It was a sort of a last-minute error where Winston gets off the point for a split second as more stall is coming back in, but as much as you would kind of want to deride that error and go, oh, geez, stay on the point, I don't think I can say that when you have actually stalled out for the degree of time that they did. It was like, oh my God, like they're all dying and yet no progress is being made. It was a good stall from Simplicity. Yeah. Simple.
There were moments, I believe it was KSF who had swapped off onto the Mei where he actually got 2 ice blocks off in one fight or in one life. And that's not something you want to happen up against the Mei.
Now, KSF did buy some time as Mei, but he also took a lot of lives as Genji with this Nano Blade. And again, once the Nano Blade gets trucking, if you don't have an answer, if you don't have some just immediate material way to stop the Genji, a lot of people are going to die.
Or sometimes you just split up from the Genji, where, of course, that was his good Nano Blade, the Nano Blade after, where bye week spread out really well, and he ends up chasing a soldier going, this is not what I intended to do with my life. Yeah. I saw this Nano Blade going very differently. My sword is now going to disown me out of shame.
Yeah, Aether just running for his life there, actually even dipping down into the bottom stairwell just to try and dodge him. But, you know, I imagine at this point, you have to know that trying to chase down a soldier is going to be a difficult task, to say the least. I mean, that sprint is a lot faster than nano-boosted Genji. Sorry, but that speed boost is gone now.
I know Soldier's an old man, but look, when he gets to sprinting, he sprints.
Yeah, why be a cyber ninja when an old guy's just going to outrun you? I mean, the real damage done there is the Genji's self-confidence. Goodness me.
I was going to say, that's enough to make anyone switch off. We are going to be switching over to Junkertown now. Again, bye week had pick as they did lose on Hanamura, and they decided to go with Junkertown. And, you know, that doesn't super surprise me. Junkertown is definitely an escort map where unconventional compositions tend to shine. Again, we have the famous Pirates of the Caribbean strat, as I've taken to call it, and I've actually moved the naming meta forward. It's not just the pirate ship comp now, it's the Pirates of the Caribbean ship comp.
Who gets to play Captain Black?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know that the roles are always pre-designated, but I'm very curious to see what bye week will bring out here. Again, you know, there's room for Hanzos, there's room for Bastions. Not quite room for Symmetra just yet, but I'm sure someday we'll get there.
Okay, make that day today. Bring out Symmetra and all is redeemed bye week. We will find a way to edit the rules to give you an extra point that will not give you standing points, but honor points.
I can't stress enough how much ZP is lying, and we will absolutely not do that. But you should still bring out Symmetra. We're going to go ahead and hop into the game. Doubt we're going to see Symmetra, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some other janky stuff. And there's a Torbjorn right there.
All right. If you want to put an automated cannon on your ship, let's go. I don't believe him that he's going to do it. In fact, he's already swapped off the Torbjorn. But, you know, fine. Just toy with our hearts. I see how it is.
I still miss that. Well, which team was it? Was it Team Sweden that ran that? With the Torbjorn with the Bastion here on Junkertown during World Cup?
I think it might have been Team Canada.
Team Canada?
Because Mangachu definitely was hammering people down at one point or another.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, it's like, oh, who's playing Torbjorn? Yeah.
Okay, so Bye-Week has swapped Carbon in for Sugar Free. I guess he's going to be the Widow specialist for this team. But Retzi takes to the skies, does not connect with that shot. Zoms has found Aether, though. They've already got the man advantage.
They're in a great spot right now where now it's sort of, okay, can Carbon bring it back in any form or fashion? Hypnot's already down, and by week, their defense is already in shambles. You need everyone up to contest this sort of offense effectively, and instead you just keep getting brought down by this vanguard of Simplicity just outplaying you on a mechanical level.
One of the things I really like about Junkertown is that you get to run these kinds of compositions where you go for that solo support, where it's just Ginger Pop on that Mercy. Wonjae Lee has swapped off onto that onto the Roadhog, and so Ginger Pop, he's gonna have his ultimate so much quicker than either Dogman and Della, especially if Dogman falls. Wonjae Lee has been connecting with all of these hooks.
Dogman was way too far out there, ends up getting taken down, and Simplicity, much to their name, making it look simple. Bye week hasn't really contested at all, and again,
it's actually a typo. It's supposed to be Simple City.
Yeah. At that point, I believe
Simple
it.
City, yeah.
Well, Simple, nonetheless, is the name of the game right now, where Bye week just has had literally nothing go their way.
And so, yeah, now they're going for full-on dive up against them. But the thing is, this composition, once it starts going, once Wonjae Lee on the Roadhog is just feeling all of his hooks, it's so difficult to try and play a Winston into that because you get absolutely shredded when you try to come in.
Well, they got to try something at this point, and they lose the Widow battle just to add the cherry on top of the sundae you don't want to eat. KSF. Tire coming out, going the other way, gets two. The pain keeps on coming right now. Bye week is broken week.
Are you making like Marge Simpson Sundays? Like, why doesn't anyone want to eat your Sunday, CP?
I mean, they very well could be Marge Simpson Sundays. I don't think she makes very tasty food. Or is it that healthy? She's actually the worst of both worlds.
Ooh, and this is going to be some tough medicine to swallow also as they try to come in for this recontest. They'll lose Waifu and Simplicity now with nearly 6 minutes to complete out this map.
Bye week, at this point, I'm not convinced they are on the field. This has been so one-sided that they just have gotten nothing done. That would have just been even worse if Retzi actually hit that headshot. And the problem is that they've been so thoroughly trounced here, they only have a Transcendence. That's it.
And Simplicity, they haven't used anything at all. They've used possibly the tire out from Junkrat and also Retzi's ultimate, and that's about it. DPS, he hasn't been able to do much at all, so he's going to get his first supercharger here while Wonjae Lee now has, of course, that whole hog.
Bye week, going to use the Transcendence here as their power in all likelihood. Hypnot's already low, so Dogman has to keep an eye on that, but there's the snipe from the side. The Transcendence comes out as they're already down one. It's not a great situation for bye week, but what do you do? This is about the time where you start begging chat for their energy because it's not getting better from here, even as they do get a pickoff.
Yeah, Wonjae Lee finally falls along with KSF here, but still, they are respawning back into this now. They are trying to answer back. Ginger Pop even getting into the fray. He's got the damage boost coming out for him, so he's able to get that. Retzi with the res. Back from Ginger Pop is instantly in this fight, and he's already finding the headshots.
Well, credit where credit's due. Someone had to kill Dogman. There is actually getting kill after kill there. The one person that is doing some work for bye week in this case, Sugar Free, just kind of, well, not even in the lineup, so that would explain more than a handful of things here. So bye week, certainly in trouble. I guess if you're going to get run over, you run over while experimenting on different sides. Retzi on the other side, and Aether just gets picked off immediately. KFC's gonna fall, so now this is closest 5v5 they've had, but they lost their one chance of Dragon Blading. Simplicity continuing to keep things forward here. And Carbon takes down two, so some hope, some life in bye week, but finally the train stops.
Yeah, this defense really solidifying itself now with the second hold up against Simplicity. 3 minutes and 45 seconds still to make this final stretch of the map. Carbon wasn't having a great Widow game so far, but swapping off on to that Tracer, he has already made a difference now. He has Retzi on the opposite side of the wall, making sure he's not going to be able to encourage upon this high ground. So Aether holding on to this blade, but he's got to be careful. Here comes the Riptire.
Tire coming around the side, a little bit of parkour to the back, finds Dogman, he's down. He had Transcendence as well. He might be able to transcend through it, but would have been risky, but might not have needed to. Aether into the back, cuts his way through. One kill going to be nullified, so Simplicity's still in a good spot here, but bye week is at least gumming it up a bit. Carbon in the back line right now on the Tracer, going to be forced back a bit. Self-destruct in from Simplicity, but while this is going on, they're not actually getting payload progress. Bye week has done enough.
Yeah, they had them nice and contained in those hallways there. Carbon just barely missing that pulse bomb. They were able to wait out the duration of that Valkyrie, and re-engaging now is bye week. Picking up 2 kills, forcing them back. So they've done some good damage to the clock of Simplicity. 2 minutes and 35 seconds. The payload is now pushing backwards.
Payload is pushing backwards, and I mean, this has been a pretty momentous turnaround. Simplicity was literally doing anything they wanted in the beginning of this matchup. Bye week has gotten better engages here so far. They've gotten more early pickoffs, but Aether goes too deep, and now the pain might be beginning again. DPS eats a lot of damage here early on. Gonna back out a bit, still under pressure. 3 HP and down, but brought back up. Carbon isn't able to secure the kill. Simplicity still has 6, and now it's bye week once more, getting pushed back, and the pain train has resumed its progress on the tracks.
Retzi is just having an easy time in these TVTs. He's got the orb out from Retzi to help him focus down these targets. Dell on the retreat gets taken out now. And so bye week, they'll have to regroup as a full 6 to try and recontest this. The payload almost towards the end there. Actually, Simplicity jumped off. No one's pushing it. There you go.
Simplicity right now just waiting on bye week to come back in. Bye week engages Hypnot pretty far out in front early on. He's gonna get focused down. As a result, he's cut down. Bye week didn't have the greatest opening out of this. Simplicity just punishing them all the while. A Dragon Blade out from KSF. Down goes your mech, down goes your pilot. Simplicity just, again, having the right things. Aether though, a blade out at the last moment. Gets one before getting shut down. And now this payload might be heading to its final destination as Simplicity just needs a little bit more. And they have 1 minute and 7 to spare.
Yeah, that was some great mechanics coming out from Retzi actually watching that last fray. Of course, you can melee blink as a Tracer to cut down on the animation time while you're approaching them. And so as soon as you get out of that blink, the melee does connect with the damage while the full animation might not have gone off. But he also did it with the recall there where it didn't look like he meleeed at all. So he just got in, looked like it was ghost damage, but it was just great animation canceling coming out from him. But you know, bye week, they did a great job holding there on third. Ultimately, Retzi finally getting kind of stopped towards the end there. But I mean, Simplicity did so much work on the first 2 points of the map.
Look, I'm just going to bring out the obvious here, which is that why, in God's name, would you not be playing sugar-free? I understand there's reasonings for swapping people in and out, trying different compositions, etc. But objectively, looking at bye week's bright spots in the last few maps, it has to be a ridiculous reason because he was playing at a level relative to the rest of the team that you would always want him to be playing in the matchup as is. So taking him out of the lineup here, I get it, they can't win the series anymore, but you still, map score does matter, especially if you're looking at a tiebreaker later in the season. So I'm not entirely on board with that swap.
It looks like they are invested in running Carbon and Aether as that duo sniper composition. Carbon, of course, when we were on Nepal, was the one that started it off by getting the first frag onto, I believe it was KSF as the Soldier 76. And so, you know, he hasn't shown himself to be the greatest of widows quite yet, but he does have his chops there, and we'll see. Maybe they just want to reinforce that home. Now take a look at this. Dogman is going to be on the Bastion. So, pirate ship acquired.
Pirate ship, double sniper, standard Junker Town. And the key here is going to be how Simplicity tries to derail it, where, again, if you give up an early pick here, it can be very difficult to recover, and you end up giving up huge stretches of the map essentially for free. And remember, on the defensive end, it's going to be fairly difficult for Simplicity, even though they're not running a sniper, so you don't have the double sniper V1 sniper pressure. Instead, they just dive straight on in, and they get punished just the same. Bye week was ready.
Yeah, I started off by saying that the pirate ship was acquired, but actually they never set sail. Dogman never got onto the payload and left himself as a stationary target. It was a really smart call from bye week there, where Dogman, he stayed in the sentry form and just kited backwards, waiting for that dive to come out, and as soon as they did, he was able to dish out the damage. And so now that's going to open up a lot of space for Aether along with Carbon. They're going to be able to hold these far back positions. Simplicity, they're going to have to be very careful when they come in for this retake.
And you have to give the Bastion respect. You have to give both snipers respect. The problem with this composition, why it frustrates people, is that you can't easily get through the Theresa, and there's multiple threats in the back. So you have to get an early pick off as Dogman gets turned to scrap early on, so that's a nice early pick for Simplicity, and it's Zombs around the opposite side. So now they're split up bye week pretty effectively here. They've gotten rid of a lot of their power as KSF dashes through not one, but both snipers. Good engage here by Simplicity, and this is gonna force some changes out of bye week.
That was a beautiful dive coming out from Simplicity. As soon as the Hanzo had the Discord Orb on him, everyone was on top of him. The Diva was already barreling down with the micro rockets, and then from there they transitioned beautifully onto the Widowmaker. They realized who the threats are, and they went after them one after the other. And so now we've got some huge swap-offs coming out from bye week.
They swapped off half their team, and those three aren't gonna have ults up for this fight. There's a penalty paid for your ship getting sunk. And it's not just the loss of the fight, it's a loss of the booty in the form of the ultimate. And now KSF to the back gets Dell immediately off the Dragon Blade and makes it a clean double kill towards the end. Now Simplicity in a very, very good spot.
Yeah, reclaiming your ship isn't as easy as just finding a mermaid and spawning another one here in Overwatch, especially here on Junkertown. It's so hard to reclaim the payload with that Bastion, and so they did need to swap off, but I mean, they get punished so hard for it, like you had mentioned. 3 people without ultimates. Carbon actually going back to the Widowmaker once again.
And I'm fine with the Widowmaker coming out here. It's a case where you can get an early pick off, and they lose Wanja early on for Simplicity, so this isn't bad. This is gonna give Carbon more room to work with from the side, and we'll see how this works out, but DPS goes back the other way, and it's a tank line of Simplicity again, able to make space. They derail bye week. Bye week's gonna be down to their final attempt.
1 minute and 5 seconds left, even a staggered elimination onto Aether. Yeah, he will fall. Now, Waifu has been reset also. And so now, bye week, they're just struggling to come up with anything. Carbon has now swapped off once again to Tracer. He hasn't had an ultimate all game long. And now, it's gonna come down to the last 45 seconds. Aether has swapped off himself onto Soldier 76.
Why build up an ultimate anyways? I mean, I get it. This is more compositional based, but Retzi goes down early. Dogman caught him with the secondary fire headshot early on here, which means now there's a much better chance of Vibe taking this. Simplicity has overextended their hand, and Aether built up 62% in one fight. Makes the Soldier work, no ult required. Hypnot diving in deep, 50 HP, living life on the edge, and Primal Rages before he's able to be punished. Takes down Ginger Pop again for his greed, as Hypnot has a moment of brilliance here. This should let bye week get to point A.
I had my jaw just clenched that entire time. It was so close. Hypnot on the edge, 50 HP, almost dropped there, but we do have the recontest coming up from Simplicity. Do we have the self-destruct for Zombs? No, he doesn't have it. So as he loses his mech, he should get cleaned up. It's Carbon there to follow up on that damage, and Aether falling back. He's got the technical visor to answer, but the 76 falls. KSF with the blade.
KSF coming in at the last moment, gets taken down by Carbon though. The Transcendent's gonna keep the rest of the people alive, putting an end to the KSF shenanigans where he was looking to bring this air, but guess what? Retzi's back on the fight, and Retzi still fighting, gets the melee kill, but Carbon back in. But here's Zombs. Respawns are coming in for Simplicity. This is actually not one here for bye week just yet. Pulse Bomb out, should get the kill. Zombs demeched, and Aether back in once more. Good positioning, and every little bit of progress coming in from bye week, having to be fought for in blood. But they should get it, and they do.
At this point, it just seems like Simplicity trying to wear them down, make them fight for everything. There was no reason at all to try and continually come in for that recontest. You could have just given it up, and then, you know, it made no difference in time because it was already in overtime. You're not burning anything off at that point. But now, bye week, they're left with 2 minutes to try and get the second checkpoint here. Simplicity, they got a lot of tools to work with, while bye week are in a bit of a power trough.
Well, for Simplicity, they can just come in with the Transcendence, right? And then work their way through. Aether might be able to force it out early with good poke, but Simplicity, they're taking the work around from the side as Aether's blown up. A nice Pulse Bomb in the beginning, and this lets them save the Transcendence. So this is a huge win for Simplicity, where again, bye week's gonna be looking down the gambit of a very hard to win situation very soon.
Yeah, during all that, we even saw 1J Lee actually taking the 1v1 and beating Carbon. Finds a second frag towards the end onto Waifu now. So bye week. Bye-Week, they are quickly running out of time. They are still struggling to find the ultimates that they need. Aether will have a tactical visor, but he's going to be very fragile. Dogman and Dell do not have theirs. Wonjae Lee starts it off with the spam. Carbon has fallen.
And that is the price you pay when your Tracer gets caught by a Zen. Your push is over before it begins. Simplicity, again, takes good advantage down to the final minute.
Last minute remaining. Bye-Week struggled so far here on this map. Every step of the way, Aether has now swapped off. He's going on to the Genji. He just wants a bit more front-loaded power with those dashes. Hopefully be able to get those resets now. Waifu, try to set up a self-destruct possibly. Looking for a good angle. There it is.
Self-destruct coming out, looking for anything. Doesn't get it. Not quite. KSF to the back, though, gets Carbon. And again, it's enough. You only need 1 or 2 kills here to force Bye-Week back. Bye-Week, they have to be in full retreat here. They get one more shot.
They even get the DMEC onto Waifu, who is running back frantically to spawn now. He's not able to get the self-destruct. Again, as he swaps off, you do have, of course, the bomb coming out for Red Siege. Ginger Pop has the sound barrier. Bombs in play.
Out,
Bomb out.
Dogman's out already to start this fight. Bye-Week beginning on the back foot. KSF says you don't even get to begin. Simplicity drops the barrier, dives on in. Bye-Week carrying the fight. Wounded here already, and it's a flanking play of KSF and Retzi setting things up. DPS Primal Rages before falling, and even as Hypnot fights, even as Bye-Week respawns come in, Simplicity just has an overwhelming presence here on the payload as KSF and Retzi continue to play with their food.
A third last bastion of hope here as overtime ticks away. Simplicity will walk away with the 4-0 victory in this match.
Last bastion of hope. Unfortunately, Bastion not getting it done on this map. The pirate ship strat not going to go far, not even going to make it to Tortuga, and that's going to be an easy 4-0 for Simplicity. We say easy. Bye-Week did, however, show some flashes of things we can kind of expect in the coming weeks.
They did, and I mean, obviously they're trying out different people. I would say, you know, very easy life advice here. Probably play sugar-free every map. Come on, guys.
There was a noticeable
your most valuable
difference.
player.
There was a noticeable difference between Carbon and sugar-free there. Carbon was having a difficult time just even trying to get the one clip onto the Zenyatta's, even often falling to Wonjae Lee. They do, it looks like, rely upon Carbon to be that Widowmaker for them. Sugar-free didn't really show off what he could do on Hanamura when he tried to go to Widowmaker, but it's not a map where you have to rely heavily upon it. That Tracer is damn good enough for him.
Again, it comes down to those things where even if strategy dictates, hey, this other guy is better on a sniper, it's more like, but he's so good on Tracer, you almost don't care.
Well, Carbon was another player for Bye-Week who was showing some flashes from time to time. We see him here on the Tracer causing issues for Simplicity. I mean, I think you could actually kind of go down kind of person by person that we saw over this series on the roster for Bye-Week and kind of look, and there were moments where they shined and then moments where they kind of didn't deliver as much as they need to. Like Aether's another person that, to me, really sticks out. You know, when he was playing Genji, when he's playing Hanzo and Nepal, we did see these moments where he was hitting big clutch shots, but on the whole, it just wasn't consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also what wasn't consistent were the heroes he was playing on, where he was swapping a lot. And look, I do think there's moments in Overwatch where people stay on a hero too long in the sake of, I need to get an ultimate. But there's also the flip side of, you would like to get an ultimate at some point, and there was a lot of swapping there towards the end.
Yeah, especially on Junkertown, where they kept changing the composition. Both him and Carbon were just flopping between their Widowmaker and their Hanzo and their Soldier 76. It was so difficult to watch that first point. I mean, ultimately, they did finally walk away with it, but it wasn't a clean point one take at all.
Right, well, as we discussed, Bye-Week is very much in the iterative stage where they're trying to find out what works. So you do expect a little bit of experimentation there, but as much as they lost that series, Simplicity also won that series.
Yes.
Worth pointing out through good play, especially against their opponents. They clearly had them figured out by the end when to do the engages, and none more than KSF, who is actually going to be our Old Spice player of the match. KSF got in there and was just really doing it at all angles, and I want to point out that as the series progressed, it seemed like he got better at understanding his opponents.
Well, he's doing it on both 76 and on projectile heroes like Genji, which not every player can do, and he just took advantage of situations that were given to him that were very good, where you give him a opening where he could theoretically kill 3-4 players on your team. He was converting on those openings, and not every player is going to be able to do that. So you're right. We did have good flashes from Simplicity over this, where, you know, I think if there's a moral of the story here is that there's not going to be a lot of free games in Group B.
Yeah, and I was really actually pleasantly surprised. You know, even though KSF did a great job throughout this entire series, I want to also point out Won Jae Lee coming in for Faz there. His Zenyatta play was actually really good, and even when we got to see him on, I believe it was Roadhog, towards the end of, or at the beginning of Junkertown there, he was doing an amazing job with those hooks. He was landing them very consistently, so it looks like he's a great addition to the team.
Yeah, in general, we've seen just the strength of Zenyatta, the versatility. He heals. He obviously has an incredibly powerful ult, but you can still get those big damage moments in where whether you're sniping, whether you're just pumping in the damage, definitely Zenyatta, somebody to watch as we continue through this Season 1 of Contenders. All right, well, that's going to do it for our second series of the night. We still have one more coming up. Don't go anywhere.